DPS is review applications. So your applications, one of my responsibilities is to review them. So by a show of hands, how many have already started the application process? Okay, so you're in the right place to learn how to complete this. So with that, let's get started. Let's get started. Rodney, it's not playing. Okay, here we go. The department overview. So the Department of Procurement Services is the contracting authority for the procurement of goods and services for the city of Chicago. We work together as a team with our customers to guarantee an open, fair, and timely process by establishing, communicating, and enforcing superior business practices. The city of Chicago has 6 certification programs. So you'll hear these acronyms quite often. The MBE stands for Minority-Owned Business Enterprise. The WBE stands for the Women-Owned Business Enterprise. VBE, that's a newer program, is the Veteran-Owned Business Enterprise. The BEPD is the businesses owned by people with disabilities. So the first 4 programs are local programs. The DBE, Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, and the ACDBE, the Airport Concessions Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, are our federal programs. So for the local city contracts, you'd need the first 4 certifications. For the federal contracts, you need the DBE and ACDBE. And the ACDBE is specifically for airport concessions. So if you want to open up an airport concessions at one of the airports, or if you want to do, provide those concessions with services, you would need the ACDBE. So what we do, DPS is committed to providing information, resources, and tools to assist you in your efforts to compete for City of Chicago contracting opportunities. We accept and review new applications. So like I said, that's one of the responsibilities I have. Once you become certified, you're required to do a no-change affidavit. So you report any material changes every year. And then for the local program, you need to go through a recertification application every 5 years. So initially, you'll do the full application certification, and then every 5 years, you have a recertification, which also costs $250. We'll talk about that later. What else do we do? We do contract compliance with negotiated contractual participation goals for the local program. So we ensure that the contracts are in compliance with whatever those goals are. We also set standards for contract participation for the M, the W, and the BEPD and VBE, as well as the DBE and ACDBEs. So what that means is basically for the contracts, we set those participation requirement standards. The 2 websites that we use primarily is the cityofchicago.org/procurement website. That's where you'll go to our website and find everything you need to know about procurement. The chicago.mwdbe.com website is where you'll complete the application. So all the applications are automated, electronic. So what are the benefits of certification? It provides visibility. So once your firm is certified, you're listed in a directory, which is accessible to the general public. There are minority, women, and veteran and disadvantaged business participation goals on City of Chicago projects, as well as sister agencies. So there are also businesses in the private sector that seek out certified firms for products and or services. So your business becoming certified, it has its advantages. The City of Chicago also has a target market program which provides exclusive bidding to certified minority and women-owned businesses. This allows certified businesses to take 100% of the contract. because there are no subcontractor goals associated with the project. So there's a specific program for that. So do you qualify? The qualifying groups for minority would be African American, Hispanic, Asian, Native American. For the women, for the WBE, obviously is women, veterans with disabilities. And then if you don't fall under one of those ethnicity groups, there's other individuals who can, if they can prove that they have social and economic disadvantage, may qualify. The VBE is a veteran-owned business enterprise. So a veteran is a person who has served in the U.S. Armed Forces and was discharged or separated under not dishonorable conditions. So what needs to be provided is the DD-214 or the 215, depending if there was some adjustment made. And then that's really primarily the support that we would look at to verify if you were a veteran that would qualify for this program. If you're a veteran and you do not have the DD-214 or 215, you should contact the Veterans Administration. So local businesses, their certification requirements. We'll talk about what a local business is. A local business means that your principal place of business, meaning your headquarters, and the majority of your full-time workforce needs to be located in Cook County, DuPage, Kane, Lake, McHenry, or Will. And this applies to the local programs. For the DBE, ACDBE, your headquarters can be located anywhere in Illinois. Another requirement is that 51% of the business needs to be owned, controlled, and managed by a minority, a woman, a veteran, and or a person with a disability. For the DBE, ACDBE, it's a little different. The owner needs to be socially or economically disadvantaged. Has to be controlled 51% or more by a socially or economically disadvantaged individual. Another requirement is the business size standard. So when we look to see if your business is eligible for the program, we look at gross receipts, which average over 3 years for non-construction and 5 years over construction. So if your gross receipts exceeds 38.9 million, you would not qualify for any of the programs. Actually, you would not qualify for the local programs, and we look at the average over 3 years. Can we wait till the end, because we have to go around with the microphone so they can hear you. So if your business if it's a new startup, we certify startup businesses. You would provide something on your company letterhead stating that you're a new business and you don't have 3 or 5 years worth of taxes, and explain that, and then sign it and date it, and that's acceptable. So for the DBE program, the gross receipts is 23.98 million. And for the ACDBE, it's not to exceed 56.42 million. And for the DBE program, it actually, and construction, it depends. If your NAICS code, so if the service that you're trying to get certified for, if it's less than 23.98 million, we would compare the gross receipts to that amount. Because the SBA gross receipts are a little bit, it could vary. It could be more or less. Another requirement is that your personal net worth for the local program needs to be under 2.2 million. So if your net worth is more than 2.2 million, and this is only for the construction. If you're looking for construction codes, it would apply. If non-construction, there actually is no limit to the PNW.
Sit down.
So one thing that we look at for certification is that the owner's personal net worth doesn't exceed $2.2 million. For construction, for the federal program, DBE, ACDBE, it's $1.32 million. It's less. But if you're a non-construction, like if you're looking to get certified in non-construction codes, maybe it's a professional service, there is no limit. Okay, and then how we calculate personal net worth, we'll look at your assets and liabilities, your personal assets and liabilities, but we don't include the value of your primary residence or if you owe money, your mortgage on that primary residence, but we do look at investment income or investments. Also, we exclude the value of or your interest in the certified firm. So we're not looking at, the value of the firm that you're trying to get certified for. Okay, so those are and so businesses that qualify, so there's different corporate structures. So we have the sole proprietor. This is typically owned by only one person. There's no legal existence apart from the person himself or herself. If you're this type of business, we'll request an assumed name certificate if you're operating in a name other than your name, the owner. There's a general partnership, so this is typically 2 or more people that go into a business together and without any formalities. You'll need to provide a partnership agreement. If you're a corporation is treated as an entity completely separate from its shareholders. It allows others to invest in the business without being liable for the debts of the business. If you're a corporation, we look to see if you're in good standing with the Secretary of State. If your business is in good standing, we'll ask for articles of incorporation, a certificate of incorporation, bylaws, copies of stock certificates, and meeting minutes. The most limited partnership, the limited partners are more like stakeholders in a corporation. They're not liable for the debts beyond their own contribution. We'll ask for the assumed name certificate or a certificate of limited partnership. This is the most common type we see is the limited liability company. It's partnerships that have a managing member or partner. We need the operating agreement, articles of organization. So you'll need to provide that. So one thing I want to point out is your business, if you're a new business, needs to already be established. Okay, so you can't be like a business. You can be a startup, but you have to have it already established, your articles and your operating agreements and things like that. The next few slides we'll talk about have their own separate guidelines. So these are suppliers. If you're a supplier or a distributor, we'll talk about that. And if you're a broker, okay, the differences between that. A supplier must be a regular dealer, which is a firm that owns, operates, or maintains a store, a warehouse, or other establishment in which materials, supplies, articles, or equipment are bought, kept in stock, and regularly sold or leased to the public in the usual course of business. So what that means is if you're a supplier, you actually, we would be looking to verify that you're actually selling supplies out of your own inventory. And that's what we're saying, there should be probably a store or a warehouse kept in stock, and then you're selling that to the public. So that's going to be different than what we talk about a broker does. Firms operating as a distributor are identified as having direct relationship with a manufacturer to distribute its goods and products within a specified territory or region. The goods and our products are not available or sold to the public. So if you're a distributor, we would look at your distributor agreements with manufacturers. So are they exclusive or inclusive? Or what those goods are. And more than likely, those manufacturers don't deal directly with everyday people. A broker, our firms acting as a broker are not eligible for the local program certification, but can be eligible for certification as a DBE. So a person or entity that fills orders by purchasing or receiving supplies from a third-party supplier rather than out of its own inventory and provides no substantial service other than acting as a conduit between his or her supplier and his or her customer is considered a broker. So if you're acting as a broker, you wouldn't be able to qualify for the local program. And by that, we see a lot of brokers that try to get certified, and all they're doing is making phone calls and having things, calling Home Depot and trying to fill an order that's being shipped directly, drop shipped from, whatever Home Depot's warehouse to their customer. So that would be considered brokering. So you actually need a distributor agreement if you're a distributor to distinguish the difference. And then if you're a supplier, you need it actually in your inventory, in your warehouse, in your store, wherever you're selling it. Okay? So like I said before, applications are online, and this is the website that you would go to start the application process. For the local program, except for BEPD, which is the people with disabilities, it's a $250 application fee. For the federal program, it's free, so there's no fee for the DBE, ACDBE program. So what happens is once you submit your application, we'll review it to make sure all of the mandatory documents and required documents that you need are there for us to begin the review. But before we begin, we'll invoice you. You'll get the invoice in the email, and then you'll pay it. There'll be instructions on how you can pay it. There's payment centers in which you'll bring the invoice to. We only accept certified checks, cashier's checks, or money orders. And now credit and debit cards are accepted. You can also pay it online now, too. So there's a lot of ways to pay. But once you pay the fee is when it'll get assigned to a certification officer, okay? Okay, so the next few slides we'll talk about what information is needed. So contact information, that's important. You need to make sure that your email address, your phone number, and your mailing address is up to date. You need to specify what certification you're seeking. So if you're a minority, for example, and a woman, you would want to select both applications at the same time. And if you're a veteran, you'd select them all. You can check off the box, and then it'll all be reviewed at the same time. For the BEPD, that requires a Schedule G form. So you'll need to fill out the form. That goes to the Mayor's Office of People with Disabilities to validate that you're actually a person with disability, and then that gets submitted in your application. Again, if you're a VBE, we require the DD-214 or the 215. We'll also ask for ownership information, like we just discussed before. Depending on your business structure, you'll need to, ownership information. You'll need to provide your employee information, facility information, financial information, and licensing. So if you're an electrical company, for example, you would need to provide your electrical license. Or if you're an attorney or a CPA or anything like that, you'd need to provide the license. Proof of eligibility documents. So one of the requirements of certification is that you're eligible for the codes that you're requesting. And what we look at to determine if you're eligible is, number one, your resume. So make sure your resume is up to date. So specific to the codes that you're asking for. We also look at evidence of executed contracts, which are signed by both parties, invoices related to those contracts, proof of payment of those invoices. We look for we ask for the driver's license and the birth certificate. So the birth certificate is required more for the federal program, because you don't have to be a natural citizen or a citizen for the local program. We look for proof of equity contribution. So this is important. So this is the proof that you start, with the funds. You're showing the funds that you started your business with. We want to see, where did that money come from? Did it come from your bank account? Did it come from somebody else's bank account? So we need that type of proof. For the older companies, like companies that have been around for, over 10 years, a lot of times they might not have the initial. Depending on the certification officer, how comfortable they are with, the information that you've already provided, a sworn affidavit might be good enough. We look at the business bank account, the signatory card. We want to see that the actual owner who's getting certified is a signatory on there. We're looking at an organizational chart. So, it doesn't have to be a professional organization chart. You could just, draw the structure of your organization with a pencil and paper. It's fine. Equipment list. So if you're a construction company, for example, we want an equipment list. So we want to see that you're eligible with the equipment that you have to do the services that you're asking for. And then if it's required, most construction companies require a site visit, so we'll actually go out, a field analyst will go out and look to see if you have the equipment you're saying you have and that you own it, or however you could rent equipment too, but you just have to provide the evidence for that. And then loan information. We ask for that information. We want to see who's on those loans. So for financial documents, we ask for 3 years of federal business tax returns, which is what we talked about before, and 5 years for construction firms. We also ask for 3 years of federal income tax returns of the individual, and 5 years for construction firms. We'll ask for 5 years for the individuals. We asked for the 4506T, which is a tax form, and these you'll upload. You can download the 4506 from the application. That's just giving us authorization if we need to get the information from the IRS. We ask for W-2s and 1099s, so that depends. You can. Some people provide their own W-2s and 1099s. Sometimes I ask for W-2s and 1099s of your employees. It depends. And then again, personal net worth statements, which are required for the construction firms and for all new DBE, ACDBE firms. So personal net worth statements are required for construction firms every year. Okay, you don't go through the application every year, but for the no change affidavits, we ask for that. And for only the initial application for the DBE and ACDBE, so you don't need to provide that every year. Okay, so after the applications are submitted, submitted after payment. Let's add that here, because once we receive the payment, and then once we have all of the information we need, because we try to make sure initially that you have provided everything, but sometimes as we're going through it in more detail, we'll request more information, and everything's done electronically, and we'll ask you for more information. So it could take about 90 days after we receive all of the documents. Sometimes more, sometimes less. So we just want to make sure that you have everything. They're thoroughly audited. You may receive a site visit. So all of the federal programs require site visits. All of the construction firms will have a site visit. All of the suppliers, distributors. And then if we deem it necessary, we can do a site visit. And if approved, For the local program, your certification is valid for 5 years and then recertified another 5 years and so on. The DBE, ACDBE, once you're certified and you complete your no change affidavits annually, you're infinitely certified, unless we take it away, okay? So there is an expedited process, which isn't so much expedited, it's just more condensed information. If you're certified with CMSDC, which is the Chicago Minority Supplier Development Council, or the WBDC, which is the Women in Business Development Center, you don't have to provide as much information as the regular process. And when you're filling out the application online and you're going through the decision tree, you're going to select the one where it says you're already certified. And so then the list of required documents is a little different. But the review process is typically the same, 90 days. Okay, maintaining certification. Like I said, you complete an annual no change affidavit, but you must notify our division if there has been significant material changes in your organization, in the business name, ownership, even change of address within 10 days, okay? Because if, for instance, there's a change in ownership, we need to evaluate if your business is still eligible for the program. And then all WBE, MBEWBE, BEPD vendors must recertify every 5 years. So say your business is expanding and you want to request more codes because you have these services you want to get certified. You would submit your request on company letterhead, include the North American Industry Classification System code, which we call the NAICS code. Include that in your request with the description of what it is. And then actually in the application online, you'll select that you're expanding, and then you'll do that separate application. And then you'll, again, include documentation supporting that you have that experience. Again, maybe you want to update your resume, update licensing, copies of future or present contracts, any needed insurance. So you would want to do that in the expansion application, because if you wait for us to ask for it, it's going to prolong the review. So anything you can provide initially, even in the application, will help. So here's a list of sister agencies and their contact numbers. Their contact numbers for the procurement and purchasing departments. So these sister agencies, I'm not sure if all of them accept the city's certification, but I think they do, actually. I don't think they do their own certification. So the top 10 reasons applications are denied. So these are the things to avoid. Unsubstantiated or questionable ownership control. Unclear description of critical functions and who is responsible. A company cannot substantiate where and or how startup funds or expansion capital was initiated. Outside secondary employment takes the majority of the enterprise's time each day. So this one I just want to point out, a lot of times people have a full-time job and they're just starting out their business. That doesn't mean you're not certifiable. You just have to show us or explain to us, how you're managing the business while having your secondary employment. Ensure again that your headquarters is within the 6 counties. The point of contact did not respond to requests for information in a timely manner. So like I said, we may ask for more information in the Q&A section. So you just need to respond and provide the information timely. Because if you don't respond, we may close you have 30 days basically to respond to everything. We might send it separately, but in total, it'll total 30 days. There may be inconsistencies with the applicant firm name among various documents, problems with contracts if they're missing or incomplete, not signed. So this doesn't, like, if you don't have any contracts because you're a startup or whatever reason, just, if you could provide, you can provide an explanation as to why you don't have those contracts, but we'll still need to look and see how you have the experience to do the codes. Other required documents are not attached, or no explanation is given as to why the documents are not available. So this is more for the mandatory documents. You know, each of the mandatory required documents needs to be provided. I don't even think the system will allow you to submit it with it being, without it being complete. So like again, if it doesn't apply, again, upload your not applicable document, and that should be sufficient. 3 or 5 years of tax returns were not submitted, signed as required. So a lot of people say, oh, I filed it electronically. It's okay. Just go ahead and sign the signature page of the taxes. That just ensures to us that you actually are vouching that you submitted those tax returns that you provided to us. Okay, so those are the top 10 the reasons why applications are denied. More information along with our website, like I said, cityofchicago.org DPS. You can also find us on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's it. Okay, so with that, if anyone has any questions, we'll pass the microphone around. I can try and answer them, or I'll find out an answer for you. Do you have any questions?
So I see 3 options for a business type: a supplier, distributor, or broker. Are there options to be another type of business, or do you have to fit into those categories?
Yeah, no, there's plenty of options. It was just specifically talking about what requirements those type of businesses have to, that have to qualify. Okay? Yeah, you can, what type of service do you provide, does your business provide?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I'm a sign painter, so it's labor.
Okay, painter. Okay, yeah.
Can you do multiple services and then include things that, like if you do professional services and are a distributor, can you bundle in products that are third party into your contracts as well, or would that be a violation?
So contract compliance is separate from the certification. Are you asking can a certified business provide different types of services, or?
Yeah, we'd have professional services, we'd have
Professional.
distributor, manufacturer relationships, and then we would probably.
Yeah,
You know,
if the owner's qualified and has, you know, the employees that are qualified to do professional, you can definitely apply for as many codes as you really want, but we would just look to see that you're eligible for the codes that you're asking for.
Okay, so
Yeah.
in the distributor case, if you have relationships with certain manufacturers that are exclusive to you, are those the only ones that you can supply on a contract?
Okay, so again, contract's a little different, but we would look to determine if you are a distributor. So we won't say like you can only distribute these. Like you'll have to, it'll be a classification. So you'll look in the directory, the NAICS directory, to see what do you supply.
HVAC products. yeah.
HVAC products. Okay, so you would look at what codes would apply to what you plan on distributing, and we would look at those, those specific distributor agreements.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.
All right.
So, me and my wife own a company. We have one more partner, and it's a drug testing company where my wife is 50%, and she's a minority. And then the other 25 and 25 split between 2 other partners. So would she qualify as a WBE, or it has to be 51?
Is the other partner a woman?
No. We're all minority, but
Yeah.
can you do dual certified WB or?
51% has to be woman-owned.
Okay, I thought it was majority that was on.
The majority is 51%. yeah.
Okay.
So the
Can we
other
change
part-
that if you wanted to like?
You can change your business structure however you decide to change your business structure.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. We wouldn't recommend it, but however you want to, structure your business is your decision.
What information do you need to document the personal net worth?
So
it's
the
like-
personal net worth is a template. You'll download it in the application. It'll say download, and then you'll fill it out. So the local program and the federal program's a little different. The local program, for some reason, doesn't need to be notarized, but the other one does. But so you won't download any supporting documentation in the application. You'll just fill out the template. If we question your personal net worth, based on whatever analysis we do, we may ask for some more information, but that's initially what you would provide, the template. Assets, your cash, list your properties, you'll list your savings, you'll list your, IRA, whatever would be your assets, and then your liabilities. What do you owe on your vehicles, on your home, and those amounts. And then the difference, assets minus liabilities, will be your net worth.
What are the differences, I guess, in benefits being certified with your office versus the CMSDC? Are there different agencies looking at the firms? I guess I'm just...
Well, the city certification would be for the city contracts. We don't have reciprocity with CMSDC. Like, if you're certified with CMSDC, you would still need to be certified with the city in order to work on the city projects and contracts.
Okay.
CMSDC, I don't know, maybe there's other agencies that accept their certification. You're welcome. Like with the state though, I'll just add, I know with the state, CMS, they, if you're certified with the city, they'll ask for the certification. You'll still have to get certified separately with them, but it's fast. It's pretty quick, the process.
The personal net worth statements, is that for every shareholder, or is that just for the majority shareholder?
It will be the majority owners. So if there's two members that make up the majority, 51%, we would need to look at that. Some might question, like if there's a minority interest, if we're digging and we find out that the minority interest for some reason might, their personal net worth might be a lot more, we might question that, but typically just the majority owner. Okay?
Did you say women can apply for the women?
Yeah, for sure.
Women and the minority one?
Well, if you're a minority.
Okay, so it's not. Okay.
Yeah, if you fall under one of those groups, Caucasian women wouldn't be qualified as a minority.
Okay.
All right. You have another question? Yeah, that's fine. We're here till
Just
3
one more.
if you
So
want.
this is a little bit of a technical question, but in terms of ownership, if we have an employee stock ownership plan, would you look at the ownership through a look-through with the underlying employees as the owners, or how would you look at a new plan?
Well, we would look at who the majority owner is. Is it a person?
It would. So the group of employees who would own the majority would be minorities, but it's through an employee stock ownership plan where, this is where, I don't know if we should just take this offline, where the shares won't be fully allocated until down the road.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you would do a look-through on day one, or you would say, no, we'd have to wait until the shares are allocated.
Yeah, we would have to look at that one.
Okay.
That's very rare. That I don't think I've ever seen it, but at the end of the day, it would be who the owners are. Like 51% needs to be that minority or that woman or whatever you're requesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, well, you can, I don't know, we didn't have the contact information.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
If I own a franchise and it's doing business as something else, all the contracts may reflect the franchise name. So how do I prove, if it's a startup, that this is the business that I own?
Say that, so your business is a franchise?
Correct.
And it's under a separate name than the
Correct.
franchise?
Because the article of incorporation would show the corporation name.
You would show your corporation, your corporate documents
Okay.
would be what we would look at.
Okay. Then the federal tax for a startup, it doesn't meet the 3-year, obviously, requirement. Then how do you navigate
So
that?
like I said, you want to put on your company letterhead an explanation as to why something doesn't apply. Because, yours would be, I'm not providing business tax returns because I haven't, was established in 2019, or
18.
2019. So you don't have 18 taxes yet. And then that would be for anything that doesn't apply.
Okay.
You would want to upload an explanation because we'll be asking why.
Last question, promise.
That's okay.
If an individual is filing for a certification but owns multiple businesses, then would each business be a separate certification, or would that be just individual certified?
Each business needs to be certified separately.
Okay.
So if you have multiple businesses, you want to, and that's one thing we don't have in this PowerPoint. So if you have affiliates, we need to know also your affiliate information, and that also goes on the personal net worth if you have affiliate businesses. Okay, so in your application, we'd also look at all of your affiliate gross receipts. So we'd need those tax returns too.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yep.
So on the opposite end of the spectrum, me as a sole proprietor who only recently incorporated my business, would you still require 3 years of personal income tax?
Yeah, personal is different. We
Okay.
still need, assuming everyone files their taxes. If you don't, you would explain why you don't.
Right.
There's people who don't. So, yeah, we would still need your 3 or 5 years of taxes. Yeah.
You need everything that you need everything, or is there a particular thing that you would need
For what?
for your taxes?
Oh, we need the taxes that you filed and all of the supplemental schedules.
Okay.
So if you have, rental income or, business income and K-1s, things like that, we would need to look at all of that.
Okay.
So everything that you file, we would need to look at. And then sign it.
If you don't have all of your personal taxes, let's say you have 3 of the last years, but then if you're a construction company and you need 5, if you go on the IRS website, would you accept that as the taxes, or would we have to go all the way back and get the W-2s and everything else to substantiate it?
It depends. I think it depends how tricky your taxes can be.
It's not that tricky.
Yeah. So if
really
it's
not.
super straightforward, you can request like a transcript from the IRS
Okay.
if you don't have it.
Now, do you need will you keep this information, or?
Everything is on a secure website online. It's secure, so none of your information is shared. I believe it's not even, like, it wouldn't even be FOIA. It wouldn't be.
So, do we need to make copies to give
You
to you?
upload it. Everything's done electronically. So
Oh,
you'll
okay.
scan it,
Okay.
save it on your computer, and then when in the application you'll upload whatever
Okay.
we're
all right.
requesting. So everything's electronic. No more paper. It's easier. It's more efficient and less headaches for mostly everyone. All right. Well, there is a phone number in the handout if you guys have questions. Can I just look at this? It's okay. It's on multiple things, but if you have the DPS alert at the bottom, 312-744-4900, option 1. If you have questions, somebody's always available, 8:30 to 4:30 usually. Like, there's 7 certification officers like me. We answer phone calls too. Okay, and then again, we have the workshop schedule, so we have multiple workshops that hopefully you can find useful.
So if you're a startup, okay, is it different things that you need than maybe a business that's been existing for a while?
Most of the documents would be relevant. If it doesn't apply because you're a startup, just explain why it doesn't apply.
Okay.
That's what I said, to put it on your letterhead and sign it, and then upload an explanation.
Okay.
Because if you don't, and the system won't even let you submit the application if you don't answer a question or upload a mandatory document.
Okay.
All right, well, thanks everyone for coming. I hope you found it useful. Good luck with your businesses. Get rich. Get rich.
Well, you know what? Now